Hello again and welcome to my channel. We're going to take another look today at the iOptron CEM120. I'm actually going to revisit something that I actually started this whole channel with however many years ago, 6 or 7 years, which is actually looking at it with the Skywatcher PDS 300. This is the 12-inch Newtonian telescope, and I originally started that with the Skywatcher NEQ6 mount, which didn't prove ultimately to be up to the job of handling that size telescope, particularly when you start trying to use it for astrophotography. It was okay for visual use, but you know, if you want to actually start pushing the limits and actually start using it for astrophotography, as I tend to do, then you need something slightly heavier. I did look at the EQ8R, really good, capable looking mount, but on the basis of connectivity, I went for the iOptron CEM120, which is what we're going to look at again today. Now, this is the third video I've done about the CEM120. Originally, sometime about this time last year, I did an unboxing video, and I followed that immediately with a review of the mount actually on a table. So today, as you can see behind me, I've got the mount set up with the 12-inch telescope on it. So I'm just going to go through a couple of the sort of little things I've spotted when I tried mating these two components together sometime last year, and some of the sort of little issues I came across, and some of the little niggles I've got about the CEM120. Overall, it's an absolutely brilliant mount. Very impressed with the quality, very impressed with the accuracy in terms of guiding, in terms of its pointing accuracy, and connectivity. Yeah, it is just about everything I was expecting from it. Some things about it, I was kind of expecting the Wi-Fi and the LAN connection to allow me to use some of my USB devices. It doesn't do that. So another reason why the mount's out today is I've actually got a new cable. I'm just making sure that actually works with the mount, and I'm actually running APT in the background here, and so far it seems to be running okay. So there's a few little things there. So what I'm going to do now is pause this and switch over to the tablet, and hopefully we can merge those two videos together. We can have a good look at how the mount looks with a 12-inch Newtonian on top of it. Again, it's not at the top of its load capacity. I think the CEM120 will take 120 pounds, which is like 52 kilos. What I've got on here today is probably only about 30 kilos, so it's just 60 to 70 pounds. So it's not retaxing it at this stage. So let's switch over to the tablet and take a closer look at the mount. So here we go. This is about as far back as I can stand in my conservatory. So as you can see, it's quite a tall setup. So this is the iOptron CEM120, parked on top of the tri-pier 360 portable pier. I'll say portable. You can just about carry it on your own. And obviously sat on top of that, we've got the Skywatcher 300 PDS that I originally started the channel off with. So this is what the whole combo looks like when it's all together. I suppose in a moment I can spin the telescope and you can actually see it looks like pointing down the mirror. So there's a couple of things I've noticed about the iOptron. First of all, you'll see on here we've got the 3 counterweights. CEM120 comes with 2 counterweights, and I found out that wasn't quite enough to take the 26 kilograms or so of 12-inch telescope I've got here, plus maybe another 2 kilograms for the guide scope. So I had to buy another weight. So again, if you're looking at buying the CEM120 and you've got a telescope that's sort of over the 20k plus side, you may need to consider that additional weight, or getting some kind of additional weight on there. Whether you use one of these sort of magnetic weights that you can get for weight training and go on the end of dumbbells, or you go to iOptron and you buy another one, which is what I did, and that's entirely up to you. So that's the first and most obvious thing to point out about it. So the next thing we'll do is just have a look at the cable management system and the way in which that works, because I've got a couple of other observations around that area. Right, so our next observation is that one of the things that really attracted me to the CEM120 is this. This is the cable management system at the back. So this is where you plug in all of your power, all of your connections from your computer, and it all moves into this stand cable management system on the back here. And none of this moves. The rest of the mount will actually move around, the RA and deck axis all the way up here. But this bit here stays static. So one of the great things about the CEM120 is that once you've plugged something in, either in your observatory or as I tend to do out in the field, it's not moving anywhere. So you start to move away from the scenarios that I've constantly cursed about some of the other mounts I've used. About cables dropping out and just because the mounts move to a sort of like a 90 degrees position and the weight of the cables actually drops the cables out. Apart from one tiny little thing, on here I've got the old USB cable I used. This is going into the central cable management system. You've got exactly the same problem, hold on, with the iPolar port. So, and that is that these cables here, the USB cable itself is very, very slack. And it just takes a little wiggle. And a heavy cable like this one, that can drop out. And I've lost several sessions because that cable just has dropped out under its own weight or it's stiffened up in the cold. So one of the reasons why I've actually set up today is because I bought a new cable. I've actually bought one of these nylon shrouded ones, lightweight, and that seems to be a lot better. This is a U-green one. I don't know if that makes any difference, but the actual connection going into the USB seems a lot tighter from the cable itself, and also the cable itself is an awful lot lighter. But despite that, I haven't taken any chances. So if I go around the other side of the mount, so coming around the side of the mount here, what I've actually done here is my cable here, I've actually gone through a cable tie. Now again, if you're setting up an observatory, and most people who buy a CEM120 are going to be sticking this in an observatory on a permanent pier, this may be less of a problem, but I've just found that just a little cable clip here, down here, there you are. That just takes the strain off the cable that's going into the either the USB connector for the main saddle, all the way up here, or whether you're going into the iPolar, which is in here. And that just takes the strain off the cable, and you don't have the cable dropouts that I was certainly experiencing in the early days. So it's only a simple thing, but you kind of wish that maybe there are a few cable clips that iOptron would actually stick on it themselves. So that's sort of point to make number 2, if you like. So let's move on to the saddle, shall we? Actually, before we move on to the saddle, just one little point on here. If you're wondering what this is here, this isn't put on by iOptron. This is just a rope tie from a boat, and I've just got this on here, as you can see, just to sort of keep my cables together. Otherwise, as with most astrophotography mounts, the whole thing looks like a plate of spaghetti after a while, and you've got no idea where your cables are going. So this is just to stop them from snagging and take them through a common point. So let's move on to the saddle. Let me just get a good angle here, I suppose. Right, so this is the standard saddle. As you can see, it's fairly standard Losmandy plate. There were rumours that some of the early CEM120s had a 70mm plate as opposed to a 75mm plate. I don't know how true those are, but I've certainly seen a few people on the forums complaining about it. But the big thing you'll notice about this is that this plate here is actually is a slot. It's not a clamp type plate as you've got in some other makes. This is something that surprised me coming from an NEQ6, which is a clamp type puck. This is pretty much solid, which kind of gave me a problem with the 300 PDS, because as you can see here, this is the Losmandy plate. This is where the normal guides will run for it, and down here I've got 4 of these massive great bolts. They're maybe M12 or M14, and they actually protrude quite a way below the bottom of the plate, which means that mounting it on the CEM120 is well, somewhat impossible. So one of the things I've had to do, and again, if you've got a telescope with a set of rings or against a plate there where you've got any kind of protrusion that goes more than a few millimeters beyond the bottom of the Losmandy plate, you may potentially have this problem. So it's something to look at. As I've had to go on, with the help of Adam at Rother Valley Optics, put together an adapter. Now, my original idea for the CEM120 was to buy the ADM Losmandy to Vixen adapter, but as you can see here, the plate is actually quite heavy and quite wide, and that adapter wouldn't actually fit onto this plate. The adjustment bolts here wouldn't actually go past the end of the saddle. So if you are buying a CEM120 and you've got a few things with Vixen bars on them, the ADM bar will not fit unless you get some extra long bolts for it, because the standard ones just don't fit. The other alternative is do what I've done here, or attempted. So I've got a full-size Losmandy plate. It's about 13 inches long. If I move all the cables out of the way, I've then got a multiple puck. So this is a Losmandy or dual-purpose puck. There's a Losmandy and Vixen puck here, and that's actually sat on top of another spacer here. There's actually a small Losmandy plate underneath that, so that gives me enough height that I can get to these clamping bolts, and also allows me to mount this huge scope on the plate here. It was a bit of a disappointment, I must admit, when that came along, but looking at the alternatives of buying new Losmandy plates, buying new rings, etc., this actually seemed to be the most cost-effective alternative. And it also serves a dual purpose, that I do have some scopes with Vixen bars on them, and this puck makes a nice converter both for this monster here as well as the Vixen mounted scopes as well. The only thing the only real change I've made since Adam and I went through this is that since I actually put this on here, I've made sure I've got some really large M6 and M5 Allen keys bolting that together. That puck is bolted to that Losmandy plate with about 8 bolts, because it's holding quite a heavy telescope on the top there. So again, it probably won't be an issue for a lot of people, but as I was saying, if you do have Losmandy plates where you do have this kind of protruding belt, you either need to sort of change them so they'll fit flush, or think about some kind of adapter, something similar to the one that we've had built here. So the final thing I just want to touch on is the saddle itself, and this is, I suppose, the main reason why I chose the CEM120 over the EQ8R Pro. It is down to the connectivity. I mean, currently my laptop is connected to this mount using the wireless. This is down here, and you can use USBs, you can use serials, or you can use a LAN cable. So again, if your observatory's got a nice router going out to it, you can connect in via the LAN. I'm not sure how many of the peripherals that runs. Certainly there isn't the bandwidth on the Wi-Fi side of things to go and run anything that's on this peripheral plate, and there doesn't seem to be a connection between the LAN side of the networking and LAN side of the system and these ports down here. So these are all run off the single USB cable I've plugged into the cable management system. But you've got 4 USB 2 ports here. You've also got a guide port. If you want to use that, I mean, I'm not using that. I'm just running the guide camera and the mount on an ASCON platform. So the guide cable is pretty much redundant doing that. And we've also got a number of iPorts down here. This iPort is for iOptron equipment of some sort, for things like focuses, etc. So I haven't got any of that. And obviously I've got the USB 3 cable here. Again, I found this is useful when I'm doing planetary imaging, because I can plug in a USB 3 cable down here into the central cable and management system, and then whatever imaging camera I've got sat on the mount here can get plugged into here. So again, I've not got to worry about cables trailing everywhere and tripping over them. The other thing about it is I've also got power distribution. So on here, this is the 12 volt 1 amp supply. This comes directly off the mount power supply, so this is currently running my focuser up here. And obviously there's space on there for another port. In fact, I think there's a third one around the back here. Actually, this is a 1 amp 5 volt supply. So again, this is something you could run your imaging camera from there. So you know, you've got plenty of power options. There's also another power outlet on the other side of the mount. That runs off a central power supply. This actually runs off this auxiliary power that gets plugged into the mount here. So again, if you want to run high load equipment like dew heaters, etc., you can either run them off here, or again there's some ports around the side here. Not yet using those. You know, I've not yet started to get into the realms of dedicated imaging cameras, but you know, that certainly is my next step in terms of my sort of journey into astrophotography. Be you know, possibly replacing my trusty EOS 60DA over here with something that's possibly a little bit more specialised and more suited to the task. Although I've got to admit, I do like that camera. It's got the advantage of being fairly easy to use and being fairly familiar to me. So I think as far as the mount is concerned, that's pretty much it. So I'll just move this. As you can see, nicely balanced here. Let's get that to click somewhere here. There we go. So these are the main clutches for the system. What I have found out in use is that these are actually really nice. Kind of used to dealing with Skywatcher NEQ6, where you've got like a screw clamp. These are really nice. These are very positive. So when I actually engage, like, take that off. I want to engage the clutches on the mount here. I can get that to move. There we go. Yeah, that's a very positive movement in there, and this doesn't move at all. There's almost zero backlash in here. And again, if you do experience backlash, there are means of adjusting that. There are some adjustment screws back in here somewhere. I haven't had to play with those just yet. So obviously we got the deck and the RA. You can do both. And obviously one of the things that I'm really paranoid about is that the iOptron manual is very much around making sure that you have the shaft locks undone before you engage the gearing for the mount itself. So that's actually sat on APT as one of my checklist items before I start imaging. I'm just booting up APT here. So first of all, I'm going to apologise to one of the members of the local astronomy society when he asked me about ASCON, because I didn't know about ASCON or didn't know much about setting it up at the time, but I have actually changed that since. So this is APT. This is what's currently running my scope. Don't have screen capture on the laptop, but again, this is where I can just control my scope. And I say I've got just about all the controls I need for my camera, my telescope, my guiding system, and obviously down here all of my plate solving tools as well. So overall, this seems to work very well with the CEM120. It's very good, particularly when plate solving, where it's actually going to, let me see if I can get it myself. Get to point craft. I'm probably staring straight at it. The system is very good at talking to the CEM120 through the interface. So if I can go through here, I can go and get my scope position. So it's actually working very well with the iOptron Commander, so there's no issues there. Not that it should be, because I think APT works pretty well with just about anything that's ASCON compatible. I suppose the only minor thing I've got here is that I was kind of used to using the Skywatcher ASCON Commander, which was I actually thought was fairly good, because it was a tiny little box. It was about that size. So it's a little bit of a shock to come back to this. But again, it's this is iOptron Commander. This is part of the ASCON package, and again, it shows pretty much where the mount is, allows you to control it more or less as you need to do so, and I believe it also has some connections on it for things like focusers, etc. So if you do buy an iOptron focuser, then obviously you can control it through this process as well, as I understand it, but I haven't gone down that road, and I'm not likely to either. So there you go. Very quick look at the electronic control panel for iOptron Commander and APT all working together. Right, so a little final demonstration. I said I'd swing the scope around, and I've just put all the locks on to do that. So I'll just move the mount. I've got this pointed at M42, which this time of day in the UK should be more or less where I'm sitting. So let's set that up. So this is actually using the iOptron Commander, so I can put my Messier item in here. I can also do it through the handset or through APT, and confirm slew, and we will turn around. So again, you get some idea what this thing sounds like. It's fairly quiet. I've had a number of mounts sound like coffee grinders. I'm going to have to stop that in a minute. Alright, it's a lot lower than I think it was. Oh no, there we go. I'm panicking too soon. So there we go. So as you can see, it's fairly quiet in terms of its movement. So if you do have it outside in the garden and you're worried about waking up your neighbours when you're moving it, it's not too bad, as I say. It's possibly not as quiet as my old Skywatcher in EQ6 used to be, but there we go. Look down the tube for the mirror. But again, it's quiet enough, so you're not going to upset too many neighbours if you're at picking new targets in the middle of the night. And what I'll do in a moment is I'll just park this here, and we will take it back to the 0 position. So give us a second. Okay, 0 position is available on the handset, or you can have to go to park position. So I'm going to go to 0, which is more or less straight up north. So again, another sound check, and we will go to, we can set a new 0 position, but we'll go to our default one. Step back. And that's it, we're parked. So there you go, brief demo, what it sounds like. Some of the little niggles I've spotted. And I say they are niggles, they're not deal breakers by any means. Okay, very quick review of the saddle again, now that I've taken the scope off. So this is the puck that I've used as an adapter. So this is a Dioptic puck. It's on a similar plate. So again, we've got long Losmandy plate, quite a large replacement puck. This is a dual Vixen and Losmandy puck here. And if we can go around to the side here and give me a second. The saddle plate on the CEM120 is very much about slide in losmandy plate. There's not a lot of gap in there. So again, if you look at the bottom of this one, all the bolts on this are sitting pretty much flush. But so that really is the profile of my plate. So I've got one plate on the bottom, I've got another plate in there as a spacer, and then I've finally got a clamp on here. So if you do need to adapt some kind of clamp for your CEM120, you're going to need to do something like this. You can either use the Geoptic one. Another one I looked at that looked really useful, a Beta do one as well. That actually seemed to be the full length of the plates here. That actually looked pretty good, but again, the adjustment screws on that looked like they needed a special little spanner, which again, that needed the gap underneath it. So this is the main plate. As you can see, you've got different mounting holes in here. So if you want to move the plate up or down to adjust the balance of whatever scope you're going to put on there, you can do that. I haven't found it necessary so far. One of the things I have found with this is that if I'm using a dual saddle, occasionally it's good just to turn this at 90 degrees, but I don't do that often, if indeed at all. So, but as I said, that was a very quick view of what the standard plate looks like and where some of the tolerances are. Let me just get on the top here. Let's see, have a look down here. So this is more or less the profile of the plate you're looking at. So if you've got any telescope tubes with any protruding bolts, you don't have a lot of space underneath it. So that's something to be aware of. So you'll either have to get some low profile bolts or do something similar to what I've done here if your heart is set on getting a CEM120. So there you are. That's the CEM120, not necessarily being shown in action as such, but it's shown us with one of my heaviest scope, or the heaviest scope I use for imaging anyway. So hopefully you'll find that useful, or at least informative in some small way. As I've said in the past, I'm not a professional reviewer or astronomer. So this is just me putting a video together to answer some of the questions that a few of you have asked me about either the 300 PDS or about CEM120 since I put the first video up. As I say, I don't have a particular filming schedule as such. I'm just in the position today where I wanted to try out some new cabling and make sure it all worked in the dry and in the warm while it's raining or snowing as it is outside, so that we can I then don't have to do it in the dark. It suited my schedule again, as all of these videos do. So if you've got any specific questions or something you wanted to see again, again, I'll answer the questions, and if I get the chance, opportunity, or whatever, I can put videos together. But I'm not the BBC, so I don't expect any kind of programming schedule at all. If you like if you enjoyed the video, if you found it informative, leave a like. If there's any questions, leave a comment. And if you're going to troll, just remember the mum rule, okay? And I'll see you maybe next time. Bye now.